There is no such thing as good and evil in war. It's all just a matter of lesser evils. After all, history is written by the victors. Dainsleif is a man of such sentiments, a man who believes in the middle ground of advancement and delusion, a man who lost everything 500 years ago to the cruelty of both gods and humans. Welcome to Who is Dainsleif? Today, I want to study why Dainsleif went down the path of retribution against the Abyss, and why he is now fighting against the people he swore to protect. But is it really as simple as a tale of hatred for the gods? Or is there a deeper meaning that shows maybe he never left khaenriah on good terms? Disclaimer: this video will be a speculative analysis on who Dainsleif is based on information we know in-game. Please be mindful. I will also be referring to Aether as a traveler for personal consistency. So, let's begin with his past. Dainsleif is one of our closest connections to khaenriah. He was once known as the Twilight Sword, a member of the Royal Guard of khaenriah, and possibly has close connections to the Eclipse dynasty. In-game, he is the narrator of the character Miscellany, and he seems to have a grasp of each character presented with an appropriate amount of foreshadowing. He has dedicated himself to fighting the Abyss, but harbors a distaste for those that follow the gods blindly. The more we converse with him, he shows that he held khaenriah to a high regard in his past. He also deems the gods as nothing special. He himself has no vision, and also believes the traveler shouldn't trust the gods too much. It would have been easy to simply make his story a black and white case, a descendant from khaenriah trying to stop Celestia with just how much animosity he harbors for the gods. But we know that it isn't that simple. He is on a mission to stop the Abyss. Unfortunately, it seems his true agenda becomes vague when Lemine reveals the Abyss Order will run people of khaenriah he failed to protect. So the question then becomes, if he was once an important figure of khaenriah, then why did he turn his back on his people? And if the answer isn't because he's loyal to Celestia, then what could it possibly be? Well, the answer may lie with the Eclipse dynasty. I've covered before the possibility that the Eclipse dynasty's fall by Celestia wasn't unprecedented, and that they started the war by meddling in things they do not understand. Dainsleif tells us about khaenriah's militaristic mindset. The land is not to be tilled with farming tools, but rather to be fought for with steel and blood. He also tells us that khaenriah is known as the pride of humanity, and unfortunately, perhaps it could be mankind's arrogation manifested into a city that thought it could best the gods. Several hints could be pointing to this being the case. From Pierro's mocking mask, there was once a foolish ruler that delved into the veil of sin, which in turn ushered divine retribution. When considering the murals in Tsurumi Island, we see the familiar stars characters with khaenriahan histories have. One of the writings state this: "In stellari ascenti sapientia absconditur," which means ascent is hidden in the stars. Dainsleif even warns us against trying to usurp the divine, which comes as a surprise to Aether and Paimon because he was so antagonistic to the gods in the first place.
It's just my opinion, but a word of advice. Always be on your guard when around gods. You shouldn't place too much trust in them, but at the same time, don't go too far in the opposite direction. Don't go trying to overthrow them or hunt them down, even if the god in question is your sworn enemy.
Don't trust them and don't hunt them. That's some awkward advice. Does Dain hate the Seven, or is he protecting them?
I believe that the Eclipse dynasty was affiliated with gold in trying to weaponize creatures using abyssal magic. This was motivated to overthrow Celestia's thrones, much like the past human civilization. However, Dainsleif did not agree with their shrew methods and promptly left, allegedly abandoning the people he swore to protect. He even states it himself that he bore this mindset because of his past actions. However, Dainsleif also saw Celestia as nothing short of cruel. The coming of the Cataclysm was an event that would shape history for centuries to come. If what I said was true, that the divine retribution was justified because the Eclipse dynasty was trying to usurp Celestia, and therefore it was fair that Celestia retributed with war, then why isn't Dainsleif advocating for Celestia? Because it isn't that simple. The original calamity had been overturned, yet the island in the sky set the earth to burn. The future must atone for bygone mistakes, as the bond familiar falters and breaks. Of the same blood, elders and the youth, such is the cycle of the world in truth. Celestia punished even the innocent khaenriahs. Future generations such as Kaya were doomed by the actions of a few, and with the entirety of the city obliterated, who knows how many bystanders and civilians were caught in the crossfire. The original calamity was done, yet Celestia finalized the kill by ensuring everyone would be punished, not just the foolish ruler, not just the sages, not just the people involved. As I've said, war is not morally black and white. It just simply doesn't happen that way. As for Dainsleif's curse, it was never truly stated whether it was Celestia or khaenriah who laid the curse of immortality upon him. It could have been punishment for ignorance, especially since he was one of the royal guards. Celestia is an entity of true lawful, but it could be possible that he himself will slowly become an Abyss Herald as well.
I sense your soul is stained by terrible bloodshed, perhaps from your darkest nightmares, unless... Oh, and something far more dangerous. You reek of a corruption familiar to me. Then we are the same. We're both dangerous.
Dain, what is the strand of blonde hair to you? Someone you must kill? Or the object of your penitence? I want to ask a very important question. When did Lumine and Dainsleif start their adventures? In the 1.3 story quest, we are given by Dainsleif 3 questions regarding our previous adventures. Answering 2 out of 3 of them with the last option will remind Dainsleif of their old traveling companion. When inspecting these lines, we see that Lumine's views on the world at the time heavily advocate for the people of the world banding together against a greater threat. But there is one line which is most interesting. This world has people who gain visions and those who do not. Which of the two do you think hold more importance in the eyes of the gods? If either says, perhaps none of them do, that will also trigger Dainsleif to be reminded of Lumine. I believe they began traveling before the Cataclysm. Lumine used to know who Dainsleif was before the Cataclysm, and could even have possible connections to the people of khaenriah since she is currently revered as a princess. In the self-proclaimed prophet quote, the truth is also reintroduced along with the Cataclysm. She stated that she went through the world once, and that she understood the truth of the world at the end. Dain's story is one of loss and grief, a tale of a man who failed to uphold his duties to a dynasty that became too greedy. He failed to uphold his duties as a Twilight Sword perhaps because of conflict of interest, but he was punished by the gods for the transgressions he had, leading him to a path of contradiction. And so, where will Dainsleif go from here? We know that the corruption is slowly taking him, and he entered the portal with the eye of the first field teller in his possession. Is it an oversight? Or perhaps a sign of his true allegiance? In my opinion, it is not Dainsleif turning his back on us or formally aiding the Abyss to finally kill the gods. It was a spur of emotion. He too hasn't seen his close companion for who knows how long, and perhaps just want to understand why she went down the path she did. In the Deva trailer, we know he wants to save someone, and that Aether must prove himself capable of the task. Even as we see in the character miscellany, he reveres neither Celestia nor khaenriah. Dainsleif's story isn't over. Even he doesn't know what he will do, because there is no such thing as good and evil in war. It's all just a matter of lesser evils.